started creating AR effects using Spark in particular, actually not too long ago. And I have some examples of like my literal actual Instagram posts from the first day in my life. I tried Spark in November 2019. So like literally 2 years ago. I think you might have that actually as a slide too, if you're able to cue that up. But kind of similar to Craig, I mean, I've always been someone who is highly graphics oriented and interaction design oriented. And AR as a technology had actually interested me for a long time, like probably for the last decade. And I remember back in like, I don't know, 2014 when I was tinkering with creating AR projects using like now defunct Project Tango. And like really at that time, it was pretty limited what devices could, reliably run these apps. And it was actually considered like quite cutting edge at the time. So kind of like fast forward a couple years after that, I mean, everything totally changed. So really now what I love about AR and also why it's just super fun for me to teach it is how relatable it's become, because just like very rapidly did hardware become more powerful and software became more optimized to really power AR on most consumer mobile devices. And now these tools like Spark, they've become highly beginner friendly, and even though behind the scenes they're still incredibly powerful. So really, like TLDR, using an AR effect, I think is something that many people can now at least imagine, even if they're not highly technical. So, they might not know the terminology or even the phrase augmented reality, but, concepts like using a filter on your webcam or switching your background or using a voice changer, that's all become quite ubiquitous in consumer technology. And, that makes AR creation for everyday people much more relatable.
Awesome. That's great. And Mate, how about you? What drew you to AR as a tech?
Yeah, I think Craig described it really well with the magic moments. That totally brings it to the point. So my background is in 3D animation, and I was also always interested in looking at where technology is heading. And in my old company, before I joined Meta, we were already working on AR stuff in Unreal Engine and different frameworks. And then a friend of mine at Facebook actually sent me the first beta, I think, or one of the very early AR Studio betas, and I kind of played around with it. And what really struck me was how simple it was, how easy it was to get in. So it's very accessible, and that was great. And it kind of like became a really kind of like a bit of an addicting way to interact with the software, because also it was still so limited that it was kind of like a little game of making it do things that it wasn't yet supposed to do, and that was like a lot of fun. And the other thing that really drew me to Spark specifically, or AR Studio in the early days, was the community, really, because that is a very strong point, and it's very, very valuable to learn the tool, that you can actually use the Facebook group, and just like interacting with different members of the community who work in the same way, and that is highly motivating. Like those two things, I think, make the tool stand out a lot. And I also think that is we are in terms of like AR, we are, I think, in a kind of like in transition phase where like the first kind of like, you could say, maybe gimmicky, bunny ears and stuff like that happen, but that will get people used to the word of AR and the terminology and the way to interact with it. And I do also see a huge potential of AR potentially becoming like the next paradigm to interact with data and becoming the metaverse, or whatever you want to call it.
That's great. That's great. And I'll echo your sentiments about the community as well. It's just incredible. I mean, the attendees here are a testament to how AR is really bringing together folks who are building, using AR effects. And it's just great to see so many people from around the world coming together, helping each other out, just building up what's possible in AR. Okay, next question. Jillet, I'm going to start with you. What upcoming feature or application of Meta Spark are you most excited about for the future?
Oh, great question. So something that I'm personally just super excited about with some of our latest announcements that's come out from Meta is the official Spark AR curriculum, the formal certification, and there's also going to be this certified career network, which is essentially an AR job board for qualified Spark AR creators. And really, I mean, going back to what my other panelists were just saying too, it's like being able to get this solid educational foundation in AR, this emerging technology, and doing that now can just truly help set you apart as a creative. And being an instructor in the AR field myself, I'm just so happy to see that these resources are now being available more widely. So people around the world of any skill level can start learning firsthand how to develop these skills.
Great. And Mate?
So I think the exciting big ones are body tracking, hand tracking, finally happening, really cool, multi-peer features also. But what I love specifically, being closer to the I don't know, to the internals potentially, but what's also available for the bigger community is the VS Code extension, which is like super handy if you develop in scripting. And I particularly love a little new feature called tags, where you can use it in the render paths to have different objects basically be used in different render paths. And maybe we will actually get to see that functionality in the workshop later on. I'm not sure, but it would fit.
Yeah, definitely. And Craig, how about yourself?
I definitely was going to echo what Mate just brought up around version 126 and hand and body tracking. Like, I'm excited to see what comes out of that. If I look forward, particularly with what we announced at Connect and where we see going with AR glasses, moving from mobile to head-mounted displays, what can we build with Spark? I mean, a lot of it, 90% plus, feels like it's face masks and on your body today. Where do we go next? Like, what do I see when I put on glasses? What can Spark bring to that? I get really excited about that path. And then something that always excites me is just the output from the community, specifically around generalized tools. Spark SL. Honestly, there's a Mate again mentioned render passes, like just Spark SL and render passes. What can we do and what can we see? Like, I'm constantly surprised at seeing what people can do. And I think it's only going to get better as we make that technology better. So very cool.
Great answers, guys. Giving us a sneak peek into what's possible and what's hot. Okay, last question. And it's actually the most upvoted question, which is, what is one piece of advice you would give to beginners who are interested in getting started with MetaSpark? So, Craig, let's kick off with you.
Oh, I'm actually here for a selfish reason, which is I want to hear questions and get feedback from the community to what's really missing. So I guess my candid piece of advice is, if something isn't working or making sense, please be loud about it. Post on the forums, ask questions. No question is a dumb question. Like, everyone is here to support you. So I would just lean into the documentation and help from the community. And frankly, if it's not there, I want to help solve that problem. So that would be the first thing. But other than that, the examples and the tutorials are one thing, but once you sort of grok it, I really push you to sort of modify it and make it your own, because that's where back to the magic, not to bring that keyword or buzzword back, but that's where the magic starts to happen, is bringing your own personal flair or creativity is really you'll be surprised what you can do with Spark and the tool set at that point. So I advise you to get creative. Bit generic, but I like that one.
I like it too. Jaleh, how about yourself? I mean,
yeah, definitely plus one to that. Yeah, definitely plus one to that about, just getting creative, getting in the tool, and, don't feel shy about just reverse engineering templates and try altering one small thing. And like, through that, you'll start to, just get more hands-on, start being more experimental in the tool, and please just be actively creating. Nothing beats like getting into a real project to learn. There's only so much you can learn, through reading articles, even through like watching a panel, right? It's like, that's why we have this hands-on workshop coming. And then a second piece of advice that's more about like the meta side of being a creator too, is to fuel your creativity by seeing what other creators in the field are doing and connect with them in the community. Don't be shy about asking questions and finding mentors. Like, we're all here to help you. And, once you learn new things yourself, share that knowledge with those around you. This is still an emerging field, and, we can help to build this open and welcoming culture for AR together.
Great. And Mate, your thoughts?
So I think, like, if you're super new to the whole space, so you might not know any 3D if you're here, with the beginner's tutorial, maybe you haven't done any coding yet, so you're very new. That's actually very exciting, because you don't have anything you have to forget, all the old ways, you don't need to worry about it. and that can be an advantage. And I think what is difficult if you learn a new software or a new field, you have ideas already. That's why you're motivated to come here, and you want to build that great thing. And probably it might be a bit of a much too big of a scope. And so that's setting yourself up to fail. If you have like this, you've seen this crazy filter and you want to rebuild it. So my kind of advice would be to start small and just like pick any of the part of the tool you like, whatever that is, and then just play around with it. And then you will see that super quickly you will get so proficient in this part of the tool that it will be much easier to look at the other parts of the tool as well. So kind of like a bottom-up approach of learning. That would be my advice if you're very new to something.
That's great. Great answer. And, during today's workshop, folks will be introduced to a lot of different features. And so, they'll be able to, pick that one thing that sparked your interest and go from there. Awesome. Okay, well, we're going to switch over to audience Q&A. I'm going to start with the ones that are highest voted and going from there. So panelists, feel free to jump in if you want to answer the question. And the first one is from Victoria Vella, who says, I'm beginning to learn Blender. Other than YouTube tutorials, is there a resource you recommend that offers a little more comprehensive training for how to use Blender?
So I'm just jump in. There might be some. I don't know of one, but like what I do actually, I just basically click on a bunch of tutorials on YouTube, and then it will recommend new tutorials, and I make myself a playlist, and I just add everything to it I find interesting. And then if I have time, I just watch the playlist. Sometimes on like 4 times speed. And then if there's something I'm interested in, I stop and kind of like go back and try it. That's my strategy here.
I mean, if you want me to answer this question, I'm not going to give good help because I'm your developer, right? So I'm going to build Blender and not necessarily build in Blender. But when I use Blender, I use Maya at times, and I stumble through it. I find the tutorials help, but then I've also, for someone that's just starting out, I pull from experience, like on game development platforms or whatever, where like with the output of what's happening from the tool matters. And so figuring out how the tools work within Blender is one thing, but then I would also advise you to think about how is the content that you're creating going to be used? Like, how is that asset going to be used? Because a lot of times I see people building new things for the first time. They're really high poly counts, or they have a lot of extra motion, or something in it that just makes them really hard to work with. So I would try to keep it simple.
Yeah, absolutely. And plus one to that with, finding something practical that aligns with what that output you want to achieve is. And across a lot of the online learning platforms, so even beyond YouTube, I know Skillshare, Udemy also have some pretty extensive Blender curriculum, but I'd look at what is the end product that end-to-end tutorial is teaching you to do, and does that align does that output align with what you're trying to achieve in your project? And I think just the more relatable that object or pipeline is to what you want to achieve will probably align best to be what you pick as your next step in your educational journey.
Great. Chris Sokovich has a question. How can I make my effects more easily discoverable to new people amongst the thousands of sticker effects out there?
Go for it.
You go first. Go ahead. No, you first.
So yeah, I think this is always a challenge. I think with anything that you're creating for a wide audience, there's always going to be a lot out there, a lot of perceived competition. And I think one thing, at least this is something that has helped me, is sometimes what ends up being the most popular thing or the most viral thing is not even necessarily the most technically sophisticated thing or the most cutting edge application of a technology. It's more of what resonates with a particular audience, what might even be like funny or memeable. And I think you might have, like Chris, you might have like a community or a specific subgenre or subculture that you're part of, that you're like, hey, I think people in like this group of people I'm part of would really resonate with like XYZ thing. And creating something like that that's kind of funny and relatable might kind of help to launch what you build with that group of people. and then through them they will use it and hopefully promote it, and then kind of that viral effect will happen. But I think starting with what you're already kind of an expert in, or a community that you're already part of, and building something bespoke for that can certainly help.
I love the feedback on how to make something unique or something that speaks personally to the creator as well as the community they're a part of. I think that's really smart. So I really appreciate that. I was going to add, in terms of discoverability, just as a bit of an insight, we're always looking at new ways to sort of showcase and allow for discoverability within the system. So don't expect how it is today is always going to remain the same. Be expecting change there. We're always experimenting with it. So there's the opportunity of sort of like what you're sort of grokking as the system and how it works today in terms of ranking and discoverability, it'll change because we're constantly experimenting there to make it better, to help people get noticed and discovered.
Great. I'm going to jump into the next question from Jessica Dorado. This is specifically for Mate, but I'd love to invite everyone to answer. What is the most important skills that you recommend to develop to become a great Spark AR creator?
Yeah, I think it's really kind of like whatever interests you, because what we already just said, it's not this one effect that is successful, but whatever your style is can be successful. So, I would basically, it's a similar answer to what I said to learning the tool, just like pick one area that interests you, and then you will become really good in this area, and then you will make things that people like, and this is how you become good.
For me, I'm going to give a bit of a biased answer because I have a graphics background, and so again, back to Spark SL and like some of the more technical features, whether it's deeper scripting or specifically using a form of shader language or the patch editor in a way that you can do some really unique things with render passes. I just get really excited about that stuff, and so I think a lot of people shy away from it because it is more technical. Yes, it is, but there's books, there's tutorials, and there's ways to learn that. It just takes a bit more time, so I would encourage people to explore that.
Yeah, I think across like both of those themes too, I think at the end of the day, it's like, how can you make something that's memorable to people? So maybe that is like visually it's stunning. There's something about it that sticks in someone's mind, or, it aligns with an interest or something that they personally relate with. But at the end of the day, I think being memorable and putting your own spin on something that, sure, maybe there's already kind of a trend that's popular, but what can you do that enhances that or adds your own flavor to it, so it can also help to build your own brand, your own reputation as a creator, and what you're known for.
Great. All right. Next question, also from Chris Sakovic. What are some real world utility applications that you've seen and that you're excited about?
Yeah, this is a great question. I think, across the board, just talking about augmented reality more broadly, I think there's applications far beyond what maybe a lot of people will initially jump to. So, for example, things like representing your identity, kind of entertainment, gaming, and maybe education. I think those tend to be, the industries that people bring up first and foremost. But things like logistics or things like healthcare, for example, I think even there's areas that have been maybe not, like, generally not as tapped yet. But I think as we start moving to a world where head-mounted displays or AR just becomes like completely ubiquitous across the board and a mainstream technology, I think we'll see this technology just permeate through a lot of mass industries that maybe currently are not considered those like high tech industries per se.
Yeah, I would love to add here that the obvious applications such as wayfinding, or business to business use cases such as you're on the construction site and you see where you have to put the cable and stuff like that. This is kind of conceptually low hanging fruit, but the really interesting space is stuff that we can't foresee yet. And I think that happens where the interaction is playful and the creation is playful, and that's why I think that Spark specifically again is so interesting, because it has such a huge community and people do all different kinds of crazy stuff with it. And I think there's a lot of potential of finding the next, killer app for that space.
All right, jumping to the next question because we have about 6 more minutes. Waji Ben Raba has a question. Hi, will Spark AR be a big part of the metaverse? I mean, not only IG filters.
I can take that one. So the default answer is absolutely yes. I think so. We originally started Spark. I think it was called the Camera Effects Platform when we first started, but it was an opportunity to learn what does it even mean to build an AR platform, how are creators going to work with this AR platform, and then how are customers of all of Meta's family of apps going to consume all of this at the same time. We just wanted to learn with the intent and the strategy of when we get to AR glasses, we have an understanding and we can plug this platform into that. And so when you think about the metaverse, which is just more than AR glasses, it's all of the devices we're talking about from the Kinect's showcase that we gave. Spark is a big part of this. I mean, you're here to learn. We want to build up the creator community and the people that understand the skill set here. You mentioned IG filters. Yes, I mean, that's the go-to case right now for sure. But I challenge everyone. Imagine putting on glasses and you're building something for Spark. What is it going to be? I mean, that is the intent of this whole thing. So great question.
Yeah, absolutely. I think just as you think about building for the future of computing, the metaverse, think about interoperability. Think about how these technologies move from software to software, from different pieces of hardware, mobile devices, virtual reality devices, and kind of think holistically about how something that you could build could serve an audience across many different platforms.
That's a great point, actually. In terms of portability, Spark is going to be integrated into all the devices, right? And so whether it's on your head, I'm excited about head-mounted displays. That's why I keep bringing it up. But I mean, everyone's still going to have their phone, and there's going to be other things where Spark is at. Like it's going to run on all of that. So yeah, how did your experiences and your content run on all of those different devices and form factors is going to play into it a big deal.
Yeah, okay, great. Jumping over to Jan Morin's question, is it best to hop right into animated effects or to start slow with the static ones?
Well, I think the jump is not that far. So I think like even you can do simple animated effects quite easily. So I wouldn't necessarily limit myself here.
Yeah, I'd kind of flip the question around and say, Jan, like, what are you excited about? Like, what's your vision for what you want to build? And if it's something that makes sense as a static effect, like, that's great. And if it's something that could be enhanced with animated capabilities, awesome. Like, start with that too. I think really it's like, let the platform and let the technical capabilities fuel your idea, but start with that idea that inspires you, that you're excited to like figure out and reverse engineer how to build it, and from there, like your learning will start flowing.
Great. Safika Ayub has a question: how and when to register for the certificate for Spark?
Oh, yeah, good question. Well, this is an easy question. I think we just posted something recently in the Spark AR blog. So if you just search for that, you should be able to see the link and the detailed information there. And also as part of the certification program, I want to highlight too, there's educational materials too. So it's not something that you have to wait to delve into once you consider yourself an expert. Learning is part of this new kind of educational feature set that we're putting out. So please check that out, and you'll pick up some new skills along the way as well.
I'd like to add in terms of real fast. I'm sorry. In terms of the curriculum on top of the certification, you mentioned the education content and everything. There's also a curriculum, and we just announced an AR Pro or a Pro AR curriculum course set as well. So whether you're a beginner or you're looking to be a professional or you want to go even further beyond that, this is an area that we're going to be heavily investing in. So I just wanted to highlight that.
Perfect. Okay, I think we're nearing the last like 1 or 2 questions. Sam Strong, he wants to know, what are the most important tools, software, and program languages to learn to become a successful AR developer?
Well, I'll dive right in. I mean, tools wise, I think we're here to chat about Spark today. I think Spark's very accessible. If you don't necessarily have a technical background, maybe you're here from Dribble, you're a graphic designer. no worries. Like it's architected specifically to be easy to pick up. Well, then if you want to enhance it with your JavaScript skills, you want to get in there and really customize some of the features within it. Excellent. Like then you're able to take it to that next level. So I definitely say starting with that, and then also echoing some of the comments earlier about graphics and tailoring like the visual fit and finish. I'd also say some other software to consider looking into is on the graphics side. So making sure that you're able to understand how to create the visual assets that you need to enhance your effects, or at the very least, being able to edit and jam and remix, existing assets that you might pull from free resources online.
Mm-hmm. I would extend that a little bit too and say that when I talk to a lot of people wanting to get into this space, they are really fixated on the technology behind the recognizers. So, AR needs to see the world. Like, how does that all really work? Well, Spark, as well as other platforms, try to abstract that as much as possible. So, honestly, you really just need to focus on the creation tools, not necessarily how the computer vision or the algorithms around recognizers or anything else really work. And we take that even a step farther within Spark. We're currently evaluating what are some more simple things we can add. Like we're constantly looking at like physics. What does that mean? Or how can we help better with animation? And the goal there is to make it easier to build this stuff, so you don't have to ramp on it quite as fast. Like it's all there given to you.
Great. Well, we are out of time now. Thank you guys so much, Matej, Jaleh, Craig. This was a really informative panel. I'm sure everyone walked away with a lot of, insights and ideas, and just, feeling like we're all in the same pool, ready to learn together. So thank you guys so much for your time. And thank you everyone for your amazing questions. We're going to keep our eye on the Q&A, and, try to answer questions as well in the chat. So thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to our amazing panelists and our amazing moderator, Jennifer, Jaleh, Matej, and Craig. That was really insightful, and I found the panel discussion and Q&As really interesting. And thank you to those audience members who gave such thoughtful questions. I know that we had a few more that we could get to, so make sure to keep putting your questions in the chat, and we would love to answer them for you. Okay, so now we're going to kick off the hands-on portion of our workshop where you're actually going to be creating Spark AR events and effects and having a chance to actually share your Spark AR effects with other students in this class. So I'd love to introduce to you your facilitator for this portion of the workshop, who is Kim Fiala. So Kim is a Spark AR network partner and the co-founder of Pixel Chefs, a digital agency based in Johannesburg in South Africa. He graduated from the National School of Arts, where he studied 3D animation and visual effects. And you guys would have seen some of his effects that he's created out in the real world, because he's worked for some really big brands. Post Malone and Doritos are just a few of his clients in his esteemed client list. So Kim is going to be doing a presentation to give you some inspiration of the types of effects you could create in Spark AR. And then he's going to be doing a hands-on live workshop where you guys are encouraged to create alongside him. Make sure you download all the assets in order to create alongside him. We're putting a link to the assets in the chat now. And get those downloaded, and then at the end of this workshop you'll be able to come on stage and share what you have created throughout the workshop. And remember, after this session we're going to be sending you an email, and then you could submit your links to your effects that you created for a chance to win $100. So yeah, super excited about this. We've also got Dylan Fiala, who is an AR creator and also co-founder of Pixel Chefs. He's going to be in the chat answering your questions, posting links to helpful supporting resources, and just supporting you throughout this workshop. So you guys are in the best hands, and so excited to welcome Kim.
All right, go. Hey, everyone. Sorry, I just want to say thank you to Madeline, and thank you to Dribble and Meta and Spark for just allowing me to present some of my work. So just to share some of my knowledge with you guys. And thank you all to everyone who registered to come see this class. All right, so Madeline gave you a bit of a background on me. I'm the co-founder of Pixel Chefs, based in Johannesburg. I graduated from fine art school. After fine art school, I decided to major in visual effects and 3D animation. Shortly after that, I got into the advertising field, pretty much motion graphics background. Created a lot of animations for corporate TV, music videos, all of that stuff. Eventually, my work started evolving. I feel like I needed something a little bit more interactive. I got into digital somehow, where I started doing animations for web and uh, just small things like that at first. Eventually upgrading to um, more brand activation stuff. So things like making games for corporates in malls, VR experiences, AR experiences. Um, yeah, and that's where I actually found like my love for augmented reality. Um, yeah, and eventually I saw so much potential in it. Like we just decided to risk it all and start a business on it. So I'm gonna show you guys just a little bit of our work. Um, so yeah, you can play our show reel. I can't
do a tongue one.
All right, awesome. So beyond just us making AR effects, we do specialize in motion graphics, and virtual reality experiences. These are just some of the pieces we've done for clients. These are also just some of our partners. So Facebook Africa, we Spark AR Network partners. We've done work for tons of brands. So beyond my work or beyond my business's work, this is what I'm actually well known for, are these just outrageous, insane effects. Yeah, these are just some snapshots. So these are also some videos of some of my effects that are live. You guys can go to my page down there somewhere, Kim underscore Fiala. right? So just taking a look at that, a lot of people would ask themselves, like, what's going on in my head to inspire like effects as crazy as these? Um, I can't really pinpoint, what inspires my effect. Sometimes I just want to do effects that are like just quick, funny, and viral. But most of my popular effects are ones that I actually I try and tell like a life story or something that's been going on in my life. So a lot of these more complex effects are me kind of storytelling. Um, I think in one of my last talks, I explained that the ladybug was about, my daughter going back to school and like, me just practicing self development. The Corona Express was also like, something where we just hit lockdown and like, travel was very dangerous. So, um, I like to tell a bit of my story. If people look at just the little Easter eggs, you'll get the story. Okay, so after I've come up with my crazy idea, like a lot of people want to know like what my process is. Um, so usually once I've come up with like my idea, I go surface the internet and like I just get a bunch of reference, just to get the mind going a bit, and then I kind of get into my character design. And once I've come up with a character and I've usually I just freestyle it in my 3D software just to see what feels right. uh, I eventually come up with my model, and in order to get something running on Spark, you have to have something optimized. So a lot of my process has to do with baking high poly meshes onto low poly objects. So if you can see here, you see my 3 steps. Um, first I'll do my low poly and then I'll work on my high poly model. After that, I get into my texturing process, um, which is Substance Painter. I keep my PBR workflow going. Um, yeah, so it's pretty much unwrapping your object and then taking it into Substance Painter, and then baking your high res mesh onto your low res mesh. And Substance has amazing tools, to make metals and all of that jazz. So that process also goes when it comes to um, things like rigid objects as well. The high poly and the low poly baking, and then eventually into the texturing process. Okay, so beyond just my process and my zany effects, like I really feel like the importance of finding your own creative voice. It's something that I feel every artist should do, whatever field you're in. It's very important to find what resonates with you. Um, beyond effects being viral or any work being viral, like, does it resonate with you, and is that something you want to put out? Because if you love what you do, you're gonna end up spending hours and hours and hours on it. So one of my a part of my voice is I treat my videos just as important as the filter itself. So you'll notice that a lot of my videos for my demo videos are treated with just as much love as my actual effects. These videos I like to show, on things like Spotlight and TikTok and Shorts, because of the framing, and they seem to get quite a bit of views. This video alone has been gaining like it's been gaining a lot of views. I mean, a video like this on Reels has almost like 30,000 views. And what's fantastic about it, like, is not only do I get to make my own videos, but people get to create their own content out of it as well. Just off Hungry Spider alone, some guys have hit like 4 million views on their videos, just from me giving them a tool that they can express themselves with. So for me, just looking at this kind of stuff like keeps me going, to build more effects. So these are just some of the stats on just one of my filters. People get tons more views on their video or on their effects, but you can get a pretty high numbers using Spark on Instagram. Okay, so if you guys haven't noticed, like, most of my effects are World AR effects. And for those that don't know what World AR is, this is pretty much the definition of it. So World AR is pretty much it's a feature that allows you to place digital objects into your world. So you can transform anyone's house into, whatever you want. You can place any objects in the world. And thanks to Piotr Boa for this video. So what are the possibilities of World AR? People are doing a lot of things using World AR today. I just want to share with you guys a bit of what people are doing out there, so you guys can get inspired. Okay, so world effects they're a great visualization tool. Being able to put furniture in, and people being able to see their furniture before they actually purchase it. This is something we just did for Joybird just recently. So you can pretty much place furniture in and even change the fabric. National Geographic have also been doing really cool stuff with their education.
Capital of the world,
showing
Great Smoky Mountains.
Showing the different kind of animals in the environment and the scale of them as well. For kids, seeing national monuments come alive. That stuff is extremely powerful as visualization for learning. Also for travel as well, like we partnered with Facebook and also did a travel effect where you can go shark cage diving or travel to Egypt. So it's also a tool that can take people to other worlds. So another popular thing people are building are portals. So you can create portals to other worlds. Recently, during COVID, people have been building a lot of virtual concept stores as well, so people can kind of experience what it's like to go shopping virtually. A lot of people have realized that just with the COVID thing, being able to purchase things in this way could be viable in the future. Also, art galleries like NFTs being sold within galleries. This one was from Dodds. I think that's also got huge potential.
Okay, so the family does, and the Singaporean.
So for health and fitness, this was also a cool one from Eugene, where you could actually challenge your friends at like a race. So I can see the potential for virtual fitness. Having your own personal trainer in AR, that's also pretty powerful. Retail as well, there's a lot of spaces, digital activations. This we did for Doritos. They were launching their Bugle, and you got to see their 3D chip. Same thing with Knorr. A very cool way of like bringing products to life. This was also an ice cream container that we did as well. yeah, very, very fun interactive experiences. Coming up soon is going to be the location based AR. So having digital objects being placed within the world is also going to be a very powerful tool. You guys are going to see some of the stuff we've built for this coming up soon. Can't talk about it much, but location and landmark effects are also going to become quite a big thing. Okay, so brands utilizing World AR. I'm just going to take you through a couple of brands that we've done work for, um, leveraging the World AR features. So Ferrero Russia was one of the first jobs we did this year, which was very, very cool. It was the initiative to recycle their containers and give people creative ideas of what they can do with these containers. So the first one was a jewelry box idea. So eventually we ended up building all of these containers in 3D. We took their concepts and we transformed all of these into 3D, and we built a Spark AR effect out of it. So before anyone built like the actual box with the instructions, they could see how it looked in AR at the size it should be. So this was just a very, very cool concept. And yeah, this is what the effect eventually looked like live on Facebook. What was fantastic about this is our team is really good at optimization. So we managed to put 5 of these into a 2 meg effect. Awesome. So I see we got 3 minutes left. So Tokyo 2021. This was I'm not sure if it was cancelled, but we eventually ended up doing the effect this year. So skateboarding was finally coming to the Olympics, and they really wanted to showcase it as a new sport. Um, a new popular sport that's actually been recognized as a sport now. So we were tasked to actually create a effect that taught people how to do the no comply. I don't know if you guys are skateboarders, so you guys should know that trick. But the main goal was to teach people how to do the no comply trick. Yeah, very, very, very cool effect. So this year as well, we got to actually partner with Samsung this year for the Euro Cup, and they were looking for an experience to get people into uh, into the fever of football. Since people couldn't step into stadiums, they asked if we could build them some sort of portal effect. So what we did was we decided to use the TV as a portal and get people to step into the stadium through their television. Let me play that again. Yeah, so this is also just a very powerful way of getting people immersed into these effects. So this was also a very cool project of ours. This was actually for the hackathon. I think it was maybe a year ago or so, but it was about how to make change in the world, and this one was about cleaning up the ocean and how a human impact on the earth actually we actually creating a lot of waste in the oceans. So we decided to build this effect where you have this guy that's underwater and he's, you can see the human impact, so you can actually walk around the scene and pick everything up. And every time you pick up an object, like the color starts coming back, so the reef starts actually coming back to life. um, so if you get rid of the garbage, all of a sudden you'll see the fish start coming back. um, yeah, so I thought this was just an extremely powerful effect that the team built. And then finally, when all human impact is gone, you get this beautiful, um, alive environment. All right, cool. So the future of AR, I know everyone's asking that question. And for me, I feel that the next transition, I don't know what the next few transitions will be, but I think the next transition is definitely going into eyewear. This is just a concept image, most probably. Um, or Meta just launched their Ray-Bans. So this is just the beginning of something. It's not an AR, it's not AR glasses yet, but it's the step into the form factor. So just even going on to what Mate and them were talking about, these are just my predictions as well. Just some of the main features that I think are going to propel world AR in the future. The body tracking is definitely going to be a thing. Hand tracking, most definitely. Maybe just for uh, interactions, location based effects, landmarks, image target, text recognition, world lens. And I also feel that there's going to be some sort of hybrid mixed reality systems coming out fairly soon. So yeah, that's it from my end. Thank you guys. Can you guys hear me? So Cinema 4D or Blender.
Hey guys. So Kim's going to be doing some question and answer now. So make sure to put your questions in the Q&A tab and Kim will get to them. Thank you so much for that presentation. It was so cool to see what you've created in Spark AR and all the ways that you could utilize it to its maximum potential. I saw so many people in the chat so excited to see how you used the software and all the tools. So thank you. So first question, for example, Jonas here says, which creators are pushing the boundaries right now? Have you got any favorites that you could share?
Well, there's a couple of guys that are pushing the boundaries. I'd say Eddie is definitely one of them. What I like about Eddie is that like he's also got a motion graphics background. And you can really tell that like he uses it to the best of his abilities. Mark Wakefield as well. Mark's always pushing the boundaries. But yeah, for me, if I had to pick one, I'd say Eddie. Eddie is actually doing really well.
Oh, cool. We're going to have to link those guys' portfolios and Instagrams in the chat here, because I'm sure everyone will be interested to know about them. Okay, so someone else is saying, oh, good question. And I think this might apply to a lot of the audience here. So how could someone with no prior 3D knowledge learn to use Spark AR from scratch? I think this workshop's perfect for them.
Yeah, I'd say if you don't have any 3D, Sketchfab, go to Sketchfab and download free models. That's a good place to actually start with. With even just navigating a 3D object. Just download free stuff. Just make sure you credit them if they ask for credits.
Well, totally. Yeah, always got to credit the artist and the creator.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, the next upvoted one, it's got 9 votes. Guys, make sure you go to the Q&A and upvote any questions that you'd like him to answer. Like I said, the more votes a question has, the more likely it will get to get answered. So Kel is asking, how do you bake the animation so that it's not so heavy for Spark AR?
That you're gonna see in my workshop. But for now, that is a really good question, because you can drive some animations with the patch editor. So for a walk cycle, you can have your 25 frames, and then you can just use the rotation patch to make it move. Just the way they do in any video game.
Very cool. So we've got the most upvoted question here, 11 votes. I know that you spoke to it at the beginning a bit, but Amir's asking, Cinema 4D or Blender or 3D animations? Amir, are you able to elaborate on that question? It's got a lot of votes, but are you able to answer that, Kim?
Yeah. 3D programs are 3D programs. It's not which one's the best. Different 3D programs have better tools than others. I'm a 3ds Max guy, so I know a lot of people don't have that kind of money for that software. So I'll advise Blender as the second option. But whatever tool you decide that you feel comfortable in, it's your choice. They all pretty much do the same thing.
Yeah, I think that's good advice, making sure that the creator's comfortable with what they're using and the things that they're creating. So we've got one question from Agnes. What can be the most used daily use of augmented reality? What can now be the most used daily use of augmented reality?
That's tricky. Because I remember Mate even talking about that killer app. A lot of people only keep apps that actually are beneficial to their life. I see the power of things like when you're looking at Google Assistant and you get to point something at a plant, and it tells you what that plant is.
Very cool.
Stuff like that is going to be very powerful. So yeah, just for your camera to understand the world is I think that's going to eventually become one of the most useful things in our lives. We're not quite there yet, but it's coming.
Yeah, there's so much potential in medical science there as well.
Yeah.
Amazing. So, I'm sure that a lot of creators will be interested in this one from, I've lost it. So what opportunities do creators have to monetize and sell their assets?
I think there's a lot of initiatives coming out these days compared to what used to be. I'm loving that Lens List is actually giving people a lot of opportunities to create effects and actually make some money out of it. There is no direct monetization yet, but I do see it coming. But I'd say, if you are a 3D modeler, get a Sketchfab account, sell your stuff. Gumroad, people are doing the Gumroad thing. And yeah, there is quite a high demand for clients wanting filters. So, if you can stand out from the rest, maybe you can scoop up some of those clients.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think what you were speaking about in your presentation with finding a create what you love to create, and I think that will probably quite stand out and make your effects more relatable to clients and just feel a bit more passion behind them.
Yeah.
Okay. Is coding knowledge necessary to create great AR filters?
I'm a terrible coder, so trust me, you can create amazing stuff without code.
Good to know.
Basic patch editor. The patch editor makes things easier, but it depends. Like Mate Thistle said, whatever you wanna go into. If you wanna be the super coder, then be the super coder. If you wanna be the 3D master, then be the 3D master. It's up to you.
Yeah, very true. So are all the videos that we just saw in your presentation, I think they were pretty mind-blowing, but were they all created in Spark AR?
Yeah, everything was Spark AR. So
Asked
all
you.
those videos you can create yourself if you want.
Very, very cool. Okay, we have a couple of minutes here, so we'll just do a couple more questions and then we'll dive into your hands-on demo where the audience is going to be creating alongside you using the assets that you gave them, creating a little rubber duck. So a few more questions here. We've got a developer. Is this useful for developers? As a developer, what would I need to focus on? How can I become a creator or something else? This guy doesn't have a background, a graphic background.
I'd say just download Spark. That's the first step. They have tons of templates that you can actually rip apart. You know, um, so you can see if you want to do simple background stuff, you can do a simple background effect. You don't have to reinvent the wheel on day one. You can just tinker. Tinkering is the best way to actually learn. So I'll advise just get the software and maybe just tinker with the existing templates.
Yep, good advice. Got to start somewhere. Last question here before we dive into the demonstration of creating effects in Spark AR. There'll be plenty more question and answer time after, along with time for you guys to actually come up onto stage like I am and speak to Kim, either ask your question to him face to face or share some of your work, maybe get some feedback and advice on some of your work. That will be after the demonstration. But final question here from David. Do you do all the rigging, texture, and animation yourself?
Yeah, I do everything myself. I do cheat a little bit. I pull off of people. So sometimes I'll download if there's something that's just too insane, I'll download it, but I'll still have to put in quite a bit of work into it. Yeah, so uh, I can do everything from scratch, but time, we don't always have all that much time.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. Thank you for answering those questions. We will be
So
doing question and answer at the end as well. So make sure to keep putting your questions in the question panel and we will make sure we get to them. Remember to upvote other people's questions so we definitely do see them and get to them. But now I'm going to go off stage, Kim. And if you wanted to share your screen or just kick off your demonstration.
all right, awesome. All right, let me share my screen here. All right, so Excuse me, I need to bring out my secret weapon, energy drink. If you guys want to tell me your favorite energy drinks, just put it in the comments, yo. Okay, so I'd like to put up a poll. How many of you guys have actually opened Spark before? Just so I know what kind of level I need to kind of assess the group at. Okay, so while you guys are answering, you guys can just open up Spark. I got the latest Spark here. So this is version 126. Okay, so you guys should see something like this here when you guys open the screen. These are just all of the templates you can create. You get your blank project, sharing experience, your video calling experiences. So I hope you guys can see that. So you'll see these are the templates I spoke about earlier. You can just open these up and tinker with them. You got your hand movement, body movement, image tracking stuff, and then your simple background stuff. You got a ton of stuff here you can tinker with. Today we're going to be focusing on this world AR, world object template here. We're going to double click on this here and open up the project. All right. So everyone should have this. Just a little disclaimer. I wouldn't say this is the right way of doing it. This is my way of doing it. So just a little bit of a disclaimer there. I'm sure people have tons of ways. So if you guys are familiar, your right click, you should be able to rotate here. Your middle mouse button is to pan, and then you can zoom in by scrolling. So what I like to do is I like to select this object and then I hit F. If you hit the F key, that's just going to frame everything for you. Okay, so just a little breakdown of what's in Spark here. Here you'll see you have your scene panel. This scene panel here is where you drag your stuff in and you'll be able to see it inside your scene. So here you got the plane tracker controller, and that's part of your scene here. Below here, you have your assets panel where you can, this is where you actually drag in your textures that you're going to use. You drag in your models that you're going to use. This is also where you're going to create your materials, your controllers, and all of that jazz. So just to also show you a bit of the tools here on the side, these are just your camera. You can pick whatever, but these we're not going to use because we already have this here. This here is to pause. You can stop, you can restart your effect. And all of that. So on this side here, this side is where you find all your options for your objects. So if you select, let's take this object here, you'll see here's where all the values for the scale, the materials, and anything you want to add onto that object there. Okay. Below here, I'm sure you guys should also have your patch editor open, and we're going to use this a little bit later for the animation. So I'm just going to close this for now.
Hey, Kim. I just wanted to let you know that From the poll, 66% of people have never used Spark AI before, but super excited to learn.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay, then just showing you guys where the assets and all of that stuff is quite essential. And anyone just familiar with 3D, like rotating around objects, that's just a basic skill that you should have. Yeah. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna bring in our 3D model. So you guys are gonna go to your you guys are gonna go to this assets panel, or the assets folder that I gave you guys. You guys should find a rubber duck FBX in there. Let me just look at the chat quickly. So what we're gonna do first is we going to drag this rubber duck into our Spark project. So you guys should have the rubber duck in here. Let's also go back to this folder, and we are going to our textures folder over here. So we are also gonna grab all of these textures here, and we're gonna pull them in here. Okay, so awesome. Now that we have our assets in here, we got our different, diffuse textures. We have our normal textures. We have our ORM textures. These we are gonna apply to the actual 3D object. Okay, so let's take this rubber duck, and we are gonna take this rubber duck and put it into the scene, so we actually see the duck in the scene. So take your rubber duck and drag it into your plane tracker here, and this should pop up here like this.
Hey, Kim.
Yeah.
Me again. Some folks in the chat are asking, can we slow down a bit?
All right.
Someone wants to know how to drag. Stephanie wants to know how to drag the effects in.
I think it's. I think my head could be covering the. Okay, so I hear you guys are struggling with just dragging this in. So you see this rubber duck here that you guys dragged in. You should see it's an actual FBX. So all you need to do is click on this, hold it, and just drag it in. So drag it into your plane tracker up here and let go. So you'll see I have two now, but it should show up here. All right, so if you guys have dragged, yeah, I see people are struggling to actually see. Let me scale this down for you guys here, because my head is in the way. Is that better? Oh, awesome. Okay, so just going back to it again, guys, just to drag your objects in. Remember your rubber duck down here, like that was dragged in. Just drag it into your plane tracker up here and let go. Awesome. Okay, so you guys can see that like the object's not showing up as yet. We have to put this into this looping anim block. So you're gonna drag this object again, and you're gonna drop it into your looping anim drop. So you see the delete me here. Drag the rubber duck into this delete me, and you should see like your duck should start spinning. Yeah, see, has everyone actually opened the world object template there? Sorry. Okay, I see people have 2 spinning ducks. People have 1 spinning duck. Somewhat. If you have 2 ducks, delete the 1 duck, guys. All right. So once you have your spinning duck, we're gonna stop our duck from spinning. Just to go focused. So if you select here on your looping animation block here, you should see on your right hand side, you should see an on off button here. And once you switch that off, your duck will stop spinning. So if everyone's got the still duck, we can actually start just adjusting the scale. Okay, so let's go back to our duck and let's make our duck a little smaller. You'll see up here, you got your tools, your move tool, your rotate tool, and your scale tool. So we're going to select the scale tool, and let's just scale this duck down to about the size of like this object we have here. Okay, cool. Okay, so once we have this here, we actually don't need this anymore. This was just like to get a good scale for the duck. So this anchor placeholder here, you can just delete this. The drop shadow, keep the drop shadow because this is something that's very cool that we can use as the shadow of the duck. So just keep that for now. Keep the drop shadow. Okay, so is everyone with me? Okay, awesome. Okay, so now we're gonna get just the texture on the duck. We can start with just making it look a little good before we actually get into animation. What we're gonna do is we're actually gonna create a new material. So if you guys go down here to add assets, and we are going to select material here. Okay, so your material should show up just as a material 0. Just hit your backspace and we're gonna name this like duck. We'll just name that a duck material. Okay, so if you select your duck material, you should see on the right hand side or where your options for the materials are. So if you guys look on the right hand side, you guys should find the options for the materials on this side here. what we're going to do is, your default is a standard texture. So what we got to do here is change this to a physically based material. So this material is something that's going to leverage your PBR materials. So anything that you've made out of Substance Painter will come in with your textures that you need. So let's select physically based. Okay, so if you look here, you'll find different slots here for these materials. You'll find your color swatch. So here you can change, just the basic material to whatever flat color you want. You get your texture slot. This is the slot we're going to use for the duck. You also get your parameters, so your metallic, your roughness, your occlusion. These can also be driven by your ORM texture, which is responsible for, your shininess of the duck or um, your metallic channels. Just under that, you're going to find your normal channel. This is what actually, it gives your object that high res look. So your normal maps normally drive like little details in your models. So the rest of the options we're not going to use, so we'll leave that for another lesson. Yeah. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to get the color of the duck. So the yellow, the pink, or the green duck. What we're going to do is we're actually going to choose a file here. So there should be this little arrow thing that you see here. Just click on that, and you should see a list of your textures come up here. So just for everyone to be on the same page, like let's go for the rubber duck yellow. So I think we all should go just for the rubber duck yellow for now. Next texture we're going to add in is your ORM texture. So we want to give this rubber duck like a rubber type of feel. That texture is driven by the rubber duck occlusion, roughness, and metallic. So what you got to do is just select this one. It should be this funny orange kind of like textures in there. So your normal map, you're also gonna just select this option here, so it makes it active. And then we're gonna select your rubber duck normal map here. So that should be, okay, usually ISO just crank these up. So crank all of these metallic roughness and occlusion. Just put that all the way up to 100. Okay. Okay, so now we're gonna apply this texture to the duck. What we're gonna do is we're gonna select this duck, and you should see all of the duck options pop up here on the right-hand side. To replace that material, you just look at this material slot here, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna select that drop down, and we're gonna select our duck. And once you select it, you should see it change immediately. So, boom. So now we have a cool looking duck here. Yeah. All right. Is everyone catching up? Okay, so I'll just wait a bit for everyone to catch up a little bit. I'm sure Dylan will be helping you guys as well. Okay, cool. So what we're gonna do now is let's get onto the actual animation of this duck here. So what we're gonna do is this duck was actually exported with animations. So if you go back to your assets panel here, you guys should see the duck. If you just hit that drop down, you should see that the duck already comes with an animation here. So whatever you export it as, it will be known as whatever that name is. This was just a take one. So we're gonna use this take one to drive this walk of the duck. Okay, so in order to use this animation, we are gonna have to create a playback controller. So if you guys go to your add assets here at the bottom, and you just scroll up here, you guys should see this playback controller here. Okay, so what we're going to use is you'll see there's an audio playback, and then we have an animation playback controller. This one here is what actually drives animation. So we're going to select this here, and it should have created something here under your playback controllers. Okay, so what we're going to do is just backspace that, and let's name it animation. Okay, awesome. Okay, so we have our duck animation controller here. This is what we actually gonna add. We actually gonna add that take into this playback controller. So again, like I said, all your options should be on the right hand side. So if you select this duck animation here controller, if you look on the right hand side here, on the top, you should be able to see this animation clip here. So if you hit that drop down, you should see your take one here. Okay, so we're gonna select this take one, which is the duck animation. And now that's on your animation playback controller. Here you can adjust your speed of your animation, your loops. You can also play with the patches here, but that's also going to be at just a little bit more advanced class. So all we're going to use is this animation clip up here with the take one. Okay, so now that we have our playback controller, we're going to add it to our duck. So if you guys hit here and you go to your rubber duck, in your scene panel, select the rubber duck and go to its options here. You should see an animation here that you can actually put onto your duck. Okay, cool. So we're going to select this drop down here, and you should see your playback controller here. So remember the playback controller we created here? This will be added to your actual rubber duck. So once you select it, then you should see your duck just starts walking. Awesome. Okay, so this is this might get a little bit tricky with the patch editor that we're going to go into. But just regarding the question that I was asked earlier about, um, file size and animation, this is just a 25 frame looping animation. So this is very, very small. And now what we're going to do is we're going to drive the actual rotation so that we save on animation data. You know, it's that whole gaming concept that I was talking about earlier. Okay, so let's get into actually making this duck walk in a circle. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna look here at our scene panel, and with this here, hierarchy is gonna be what's super important. For anyone that's into their 3D, they should understand hierarchy and what is linked to what. So if you have a chain up here and like you put something within that chain, when you move this will move with it, but then you can still move this individually. So it's a hierarchy based kind of system. So you remember we dragged this into your delete me. We're not going to delete this. We're actually going to use this as our controller. So if we just double click on this delete me, and we can rename this duck rotation. So this here is actually, if you guys go to your move tool here and you select here, you can actually move this duck rotation null per se. So you'll see if you can drop that down and this drop down, you'll see that everything should be underneath your duck rotation. Okay, so since the duck rotation's pivot is in the center, what we got to do is just shift it off center so that you have something that's going to kind of go around in a circle. So what we're going to do is we're going to select this rubber duck and the drop shadow, and we are going to just see it should be centered here. We're going to move your duck just off center. So if you select this duck rotation, you should see that its pivot is still in the center. All right. So once everyone has this set up, where you have your duck that's kind of offset from your controller here, like we said, this is what's going to be driving the whole duck rotation. All right, so we're gonna get into just basic patchwork, just to get this duck walking in a circle. What we got to do is we got to actually create a rotation patch here. So what you guys got to do is select your duck rotation here, and you should see here on the side, you guys have your position, your scale, and your rotation. What we want now is just the rotation. So click on this rotation here, and it should open your patch editor down here. Okay, so in order to get this moving, we're gonna need just two simple patches. We're gonna need a loop animation. So this here, what you guys are gonna do is you guys are gonna have to just right click here, just in your patch editor, your basic patch editor here. Right click on it, and you'll see you have a search bar up here. You can just type into the search bar loop. So select your loop. What this is going to do is it's just going to keep tallying uh, your transform patch, or it's going to keep tallying your patch just to keep looping a certain animation, and just for how long you want this loop, to take place. Okay, so now we need to tell this looping animation what it needs to do, and we need to add a transform to that. So our transform is pretty much going to drive the rotation of the object. So right click again, and what you're looking for is a transition. So if you guys just type in transition, you should get a transition patch that shows up here, and then just double click that. Okay, so once we have these patches here, we need to actually connect them up. So we're gonna take the progress, and we have to move this progress to the progress, and then take this value and drag it towards the rotation. Okay, so if you guys notice, you should see it like slightly moving. What we're gonna do is we're just gonna set everything in your transition to 0, 0, 0. And what we need is we are going to actually change this to a full 360. So once you've changed your, I think it should be the x-axis or the y-axis, this one here in the center, once you've changed that to 360, you should have it spinning pretty fast. Okay, so we're gonna fix this just by changing just this duration down here. So at the moment, it's taking 1 second to do a 360 flip, to do a full 360. So we're gonna drop this down to, or lift it up to maybe, let's say 20. Awesome. So once you've actually changed that duration to 20, you should have something that's walking pretty slow. All right. Oh, I see someone about the drop shadows. If your drop shadow is not walking with your duck, just make sure it's in the under the hierarchy. So just make sure that everything is being driven by that main controller. All right. So if your duck is rotating in the same place, just remember to offset it. So your duck should not be in the center of the screen, but you should move it, move it off to the side so that it's spinning from the center point. So for any of you guys that managed to get this right, if you guys want to test your effect and just see if it's working, you guys can also uh, hit this drop down here, and you can hit your simulate touch, and you should be able to drag this around and see if everything's running right. And if you want to test it on your device, just pop over to the left here, and you can just select test on device, and you can either send it to your Facebook or your Instagram. What you can also do is you can plug your phone in and you can send it directly to your Spark player. Okay, so let me know if everyone is. Let me just look at the comments and just see if I can help some people here before we get on to just the next step. Oh, to move the duck. All right. So remember we had that delete me that had everything in it. Just make sure your duck and your drop shadow are still in that delete me that was changed to the duck rotation. So just make sure everything is under this hierarchy. Oh yeah, and for anyone who's in the patch editor, yeah, because these templates are like they have a lot of stuff going on. You guys can just move around, and if you hit Control and your middle mouse button, you can pan. You can hit Control and you can zoom in with your second mouse or your middle mouse button. And if you guys are getting just tangled up in all of this stuff, just move it out the way. You guys can select this stuff and move it out the way. Can you guys see that? Yeah, they pretty flexible. Like, I mean, if you want to do something silly, you can have that day if you want. it's very flexible. So yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna keep this. Okay, so to adjust the speed here is down here at your loop. So your duration down here, um, you just change that. If I change that to 1, it will go fast again. But we cool with 20, so that's cool. That looks kind of natural. All right. Okay, if you guys want to open the patch editor, right, you can either go up here and say view. Then you can show or hide your patch editor here. The way we opened it was we literally we selected that rotation here. And once you select anything here, it will open the patch editor automatically. So if you don't get it, from creating the patch, you can get it from just your hide, your hide or show your patch editor down here. Okay, for those going all the way back, if you guys want to stop your duck, you can also hit the spinning off here in the loop block. It's one of the first things that should be done. All right, so I'm gonna leave Dylan to help as many of you guys on there. We got a few minutes left, so I'm gonna wrap this up with us adding a feature where you can actually swap out the colors of the duck, just for people to, record their own favorite color. This is not necessary. It's just a bonus, just to show you guys how to make something a little bit more customizable for people. Yeah, so let's get into the actual swapping out of the textures. Dylan will help you guys that are all just behind. I know it's a little bit advanced, but yeah, this is kind of my basics. So yeah. Okay, cool. So let's actually get into swapping out the textures using like a screen tab. So what we're gonna do is we are gonna create another patch. Right click, just on a blank spot here. Make sure you guys are you guys have some free space here. What you gotta do is we gotta add a screen tab function. So just say screen, and then you should see screen tab here. So you're gonna select your screen tab, and what we need now is a counter, something that's gonna count through the textures. So we brought in 3 textures here. We brought in the yellow duck, the pink duck, and the green duck. So what we need is a counter just to click through those. So let's just click here and search for your counter. So we're gonna double click that. And what we wanna do is we wanna increase the count every time we tap. So we are gonna drag our gesture state and we're gonna increase that. Okay, so if you see here, we're gonna have a maximum count and we only have 3 textures. So we're gonna change this maximum count. We are gonna change it to 3 textures. So your green, your pink, and your yellow. Okay, so now we're gonna need something to actually load these textures in, something that's gonna count through these textures. We're gonna right click again, and we are gonna select an option picker. So we're gonna double click on this option picker, and we are going to connect this to the count, to this option here on the top. Okay, so at the moment, this option picker is being run through a number here, and we don't want a number, we want the texture to swap out. So we're gonna change this number, we're gonna change it on this drop down to texture. So once we select texture, you should see this change. Okay, so we're gonna drag our textures into these slots here so that every time we click, it's gonna change the texture. So let's take our green duck, our pink duck, and our yellow duck. Let's just drag them in one by one. So you'd see once you drag them into the patch editor, they should change. You should see this orange come up. So this is the yellow duck. Take the pink duck, and then we'll take the green duck. And we gotta just attach the RGBs to these slots here, one by one. And you should have something that looks like this. Okay, so what we need is we need to pipe this information into the actual main diffuse of the duck. So what we need to do is we actually need to go back to our rubber duck. So if we go to our scene panel here, and we actually select our, actually let's go to our duck texture. We actually gonna need our duck texture here, sorry. So go to your duck texture here, in your assets panel down here. And we gotta get this texture slot here on the right. So once we hit this texture slot here, it should create this patch here. And this is your actual like diffuse texture that these are gonna be piped into. And once you take your output and you snap it there, you should be able to simulate touch and have your duck change color on tap. Awesome. So this is pretty much your final effect. If you know, usually I won't. I usually do make little tweaks to my fix once it's at this point here. Like for example here, you know, I just like to remove some of these patches here, but that will also be for a later stage. All right. So I'll leave this up here just for a second for you guys to analyze and see what these patches look like. And I'll give you guys like 5 minutes. Okay, so for again, all of you guys who want to test your effects, just go. Let me see if I have my phone here. You can just hit send to Instagram, and you should see a little loading screen that shows up here. And once that's sent, you should get a notification on your Instagram. There we go. Awesome. I don't know if you guys can see that. There should be a duck somewhere there. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, if you guys have running ducks, just slow it down. To send to Instagram, just test here. So you should see here on your left-hand side, just click that. It should open this up, and then you can just send to Instagram or Facebook. You should see it show up in your guys' notifications. So yeah, you guys should be able to see that preview show up in your notifications. Okay, awesome. So we'll quickly go on to just publishing this effect. This will just be a really quick thing, because you guys can probably just look up the documentation and sort your guys' stuff out. But if you guys go to file here and you go down to publish, if you select publish here, you should see that you should get 2 green hits here. If you open this file size here, you'll see that this effect is really tiny. You guys can do your own compression and all of that. But as long as this is under 4 megs, everything's cool. What we're going to do is you got to go back and hit export. So once you hit export, you can just go to your wherever you are, or wherever you want to save your file. So I'll just go to, your publishing here, and then we can export this file as Instagram, and then you can just hit save. Okay, so once you guys have hit save, you guys should get like this AR export. So try and save it in the publishing folder that I supplied you guys with, because there should be your icon, and you can make your own demo video. So every effect should have a 15-second demo video that you upload with your effect. Okay, cool. So let me quickly show you the publishing, what the Spark AR Hub looks like. Okay, so let's go to our Spark AR Hub. Okay, so for those who don't know, you guys can just go to Facebook, and you can you'll find your Spark AR Hub there. Once you select that, you should see your hub show up like this here. Okay, so these are just some of my effects. Yeah, don't take note of these. You'll find your impressions and all of that stuff here. Sorry, let me just close this. To publish an effect, you just select publish. So you should see in the top corner here, you can hit publish, and you should get this page that shows up here. You need a name for your effect. So let's call this ducks. Or let's call it rubber ducks. Or rubber duck, sorry. Next, what you need to do is you need to take that same AR export that was sent, or that you guys created. You just drag that here. Okay, then it's going to ask you what platform you want it on. So if you guys want it on Instagram or Facebook, it's up to you. I just want it on Instagram. Okay, so your public or your link only. You can choose whether you want it public, or if you just want your link to share on its own. Here's also something important. We're going to select this as a world AR effect. This just needs to be under the category. So you can select between selfie, weird, scary. Yeah, so this could be, I don't know if you'd put that under funny, but let's just make it a world AR effect here. Next, we're going to need a demo video. So this is where you're going to record your video out of Instagram. You're going to save it, and then you are going to drag it into where your demo video should be. Okay, so once you've got that in there, you can select the thumbnail. So anything that you think is cool, that's going to be the first image people are going to see of your effect. So I like to just choose something that's kind of got a nice framing. Yeah, that's pretty cool to me. I think that's right. Okay, and then you have the option of also adding in keywords so people can search for your effect. So say duck, rubber duck, yeah, anything you guys want as a keyword for people to search. Okay, so here you got your thumbnail. That's also important. Your thumbnail has to be 200 by 200. So either you can use your video as a thumbnail, or you can upload an image I want to upload an image. So let's go back to our folder and drag the rubber duck icon in here. It's 200 by 200. And then you confirm. Okay, so that's everything when it comes to publishing. That's everything you need. And then when you're done, you can hit save in the top corner here. Okay, so once this is done, it's saved. It should be, yeah, there we go, it's saved. And then when you're ready, you just hit submit. So I'm gonna submit this. And then, yeah, review times are usually 5 to 10 days. It will go through a review process and they'll let you know, or Meta will let you know if your effect has been approved or not. So here you'll see you get your date estimated, but usually these effects do get approved a lot quicker. All right. So cool. You should see your effect in review. And that's that. That's how you get an effect on Instagram. Awesome.
Thank you so much, Kim.
Thank you so much, Kim.
Was that on time? Sorry.
Of course it was. We've got half an hour now
Right.
where we could do some question and answers. I know there was a lot of questions in the chat. Maybe
Yeah.
people want you to go over a certain step. But I think what would be really cool is also give the audience some time to come up onto stage and share what they've created, or share maybe even a different effect in Spark AR they've created in the past. So if you guys want to do that, or if you're having trouble and you just want to come up onto stage, share your screen and show Kim those pain points that you're having trouble with when creating, raise your hand in the question and answer panel. You'll see a hand emoji there, and we will bring you up onto stage. Or even if you want to ask him a question, you could come up onto stage and do that as well. You don't necessarily have to share your screen or share any work. So don't be shy. While we're waiting for people to raise their hands, maybe we could dive into the question and answer panel. I see a few there. Also, I've opened the polls. So there's about 7 polls in the poll section. I would love for you guys all to go and vote on the different polls. Okay, so first one here, Amir says, how much time does it take to create these great commercial effects, usually for your team?
Our production times are usually between like a week to 6 weeks, just depending on complexity. Most basic effects, if it's just a simple face effect, we can a week. Your mid-range effects could go from like a week to 3 weeks, and then the games, the more hardcore stuff, can go from like 6 weeks. I mean, we had some filters that were in our studio for 5 months. So it just all depends on the brief. But
Yeah,
most turnarounds in advertising, you guys know, is very quick. So you're looking at 3 to 6 weeks.
quite tight turnaround. Good to
Yeah.
know. Yeah. Okay, we've got some questions, technical questions. They're further down the Q&A, but I think these would be sort of pertinent to the stuff that you were, to your demonstration. I'm not sure whether people are being caught up necessarily, so you can let me know in the chat. Ashley did ask, how do you adjust the speed of the duck again?
You should see it under duration. Yeah, it should be under duration. So, yeah.
And then Chris, again, I don't know when this was asked necessarily, but can you go over the viewport controls for new people?
Oh, the viewport controls. It's gonna be your right click. So just keep playing around with your middle mouse button and your right click. Yeah. So those should rotate, and then also just your control key as well. Just play around with holding your control key and your right click and your middle mouse button.
Very cool. If anyone does have any more technical questions, or like I said, does want to talk the issues that they had creating their duck, then please feel free to do so. We've got more general questions coming up. So what about tips on how to create optimized models for Spark AR without compromising much quality?
I don't know. Like I'd say, look into certain tools like your in ZBrush you get your Z remeasure. Max has new optimizing modifiers. So you could just remodel from scratch. If you really want to have full control of your poly count. So just be very smart about how you break your object up. So you can have, like, if you have 5 objects in your scene, you can have all 5 objects using one texture sheet if you're smart about it. Everyone knows that Spark has a 1024 by 1024 limit, so you can't get that high res 2K. So yeah, so just use your resolution checkers in 3D Max as well while you unwrap in. I don't know if that's too advanced for an
Well, they can
advanced
let us know in
answer.
the chat.
Yeah.
So Keda has got a question here. How do you think Spark AR will be used in the mixed reality portals and its impact in the near future?
I think Spark AR, the guys at Meta can disprove me on that, but I think Spark is going to be used for, to drive these AR effects through these glasses, just the way, Snap is using the Lens Studio to run their applications for their glasses. So I think Spark is definitely going to play a huge role in the eyewear that Meta is going to launch. Yeah. Especially with especially with this core AR core and AR kit being implemented, like this, the tracking in these wild AR effects are it's way better. It's so much better than what it used to be.
For sure. How do you create the textures and 3D model from scratch? I know that we gave the assets in this workshop, but
yeah. So you can create a Blender, 3D Max, Maya. You can do that modeling wise. I'd advise everyone to pick up Substance Painter. Like,
right.
If you guys are getting into anything that's game related or real time graphics related, learning anything like Marmoset that has, like, a PBR workflow is essential. Yeah.
Cool. So Layla's asking, do you think AR is the future for product and brand promoting? We saw you in your presentation, do your Ferrero Rocher and how they use that to promote one of their products. Do you think this is the future?
Yeah, I think it's the future. The one thing that does worry me is that like the branding will be in your face.
Mm.
It will be in your world. So I think it is the future, but just like any progression, like Amazon went from selling, they were selling books in stores, and then eventually it went online. It's like a progression. When brands will always jump onto anything evolving. So um, I just think personally, AR in general is going to be a useful technology. Either way, you know.
Sure.
Computer vision is it's an exciting field with many avenues. So yeah, whether brands jump on it or not, like um, they'll probably jump on it if it's hot. Yeah.
Mhm. Great. Chris asks, are there things you could do with scripting that you can't do with Patch Editor?
Yeah, there's a ton of things you can do with scripting. Yeah, I'm gonna give a shout out to Coven. I don't know if Coven's like watching. But when he used scripts for certain jobs we did, like it made everything so much cleaner in the patch editor.
Mhm.
You also get certain limitations with options and code. Code can actually open up a lot more options than what the patch editor can do. So yeah.
Right. Interesting. So you'd encourage everyone to use scripting?
Yeah, if you can, yeah, I'd say learn basic code. That's gonna be my next goal next year is to
Oh, yeah.
become a better coder.
That's good. I suppose that links to what someone said at the very beginning of this when you were showing your show reel is how can we get to your level? And you're always evolving. You want to learn code next year, but to get to this point, how can these people in the audience get to where you are?
Uh, I don't know. I've the first time I opened 3D software, I was 16 years old. Um, I'm now 35 years old, so it's time. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of experience. Tinkering, like I said, like a lot. But it it it, it just takes time to get to this level. Um, but if you put in the work, you can. Some people learn faster than others, so what will take me 10 years might take you 5 years if you're more dedicated. But yeah, time just makes you better, and a lot of practice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can't become an expert overnight.
Yeah, unfortunately, like there's no magic pill. I wish.
Yeah, a lot of practice.
Yeah.
Very cool. Mohammed wants to know, what are some useful patches to get from AR Library?
My favorite is the object controller. Like I wouldn't use what we went through now is what I showed you as basic, what I do in the beginning, but I like the object controller that allows you to like pinch and scale and move things around. Um, I also like the chromatic aberration patches. All the render pass stuff is also pretty cool. Those two I'd say are my top favorite.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you. You spoke a bit about your team at Pixel Chefs, but Chris wants to know, You know, do you rig and weight paint models yourself, or do you have a team to do this?
Our whole team has the skills to rig and animate. So Dylan is by far the best rigger in the studio. So whenever like I need anything rigged, I'm like, do that for me, you know. Yeah, but all of us can pretty much do the same thing. You know, each of us kind of just play on each other's strengths. Like Nelson, for example, is really good at patch editor stuff. Like he's just taken coding to another level. So whenever we need that, we pass it to him. And yeah, it's just we play on each other's strengths.
Yeah, and I suppose that's a good bit of advice as well. Like maybe get a niche within this field and excel it in that if you find something interesting, like coding or like animating. And shout out to Dylan, who's been in the chat supporting our students all day. Thank you, Dylan. We see you in there and appreciate your work. Okay, so Mike is asking, is Spark AR good for prototyping AR concepts?
Yeah, it's really good. Like you could see what we could do in like in an hour. You know, for me that would be a lot quicker. You know, especially like I said with Sketchfab and stuff that's integrated into Spark. You can easily just pipe assets directly from Sketchfab. You know, so prototyping in Spark really is. I'd say you can do it quick.
Nice. Okay, this question, I don't know whether you're going to say nothing for this, but Hakan wants to know, in what aspects does 3D creation in Spark AR fall short?
I'd say it falls short because like it's very difficult to make stuff look good. You see, we still have extra processes that we do, like light baking. If you don't light bake and you bring something into Spark, like it can look horrific. You know, if you're not smart about it. Because a lot of people just think, oh, I'm gonna throw this 3D asset in and it's gonna look realistic, you know, and then sometimes they get a bit disappointed that it doesn't look as good. But to make things look good, you have to polish, you know. So where it does fall short with 2D graphics is 2D graphics you can paint, you can make it look fun in 2D, and then it just comes in the way it looks like in Photoshop, you know. So that's where I'd say like it can fall short, is making things look good can be really time consuming.
Right.
Yeah.
Good honest answer. Thank you.
Cool.
Okay, we've had a few questions, just one more a logistical thing that I could answer. That is going to be a recording. We're streaming live to YouTube right now. Hello, everyone watching on YouTube. And then the recording will live on our Dribble YouTube. I've sent you guys a link to it already in your email inboxes. So watch out for that. There'll be plenty of opportunity to rewatch and go over all those bits that you maybe got left behind a bit on. Okay, we've got a final question here. If anyone does want to come up onto stage, last chance to come up onto stage. And like I said, share your work or just ask questions face to face. Don't be shy. I'm sure Kim would love to see what you created or answer questions in real time from you. But if not, then we've got one last question in the Q&A here, which is, what can we do later to have more control over technical limitations of Spark? I mean, we need to compress, optimize, but our phones are capable of even more, right?
Oh, that's a tough one there. Yeah, I mean, there's just so many things that can go wrong. You know, there's limitations with everything. You know, like yeah, even just devices. Like I always say to people, like if you're looking for that hit viral effect, world AR effects might not be what you want to do, just because of the limitations of the devices. So my top effects that are world lenses, they reach a cap of about 40 million views to 50 million views, just because not every phone has a gyroscope. So
Right.
you are going to limit yourself to being a superstar. If you want billions of views, then like don't make world effects as yet. Yeah, but people still use it. They love it.
Yeah.
You know, it is the future. It's just if you're looking for the numbers, unfortunately, our devices are limited. So, yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. Good stuff. I think everyone is just content with watching. Nobody wants to come up onto stage, and that's absolutely fine. Thank you to everyone who asked questions. That was our final question. And thank you so much, Kim, for that really detailed and thorough look into creating effects in Spark AR. I love to see the little duck walking around. So thank you.
Nothing. Thank you guys again. Yeah, you guys at Dribble are amazing. Everyone at Spark made the show earlier was fantastic, guys. Yeah, and shout out to all the guys on the community. Yeah.
Yeah, that's another thing. Shout out to the Spark AR Facebook community. I've sent you guys a link in the email that I just sent as well. But if you wanted to find a place where there's other really engaged Spark AR creators, where you could ask those questions, where you could find a mentor, where you could get inspiration, make sure to join the Spark AR Facebook community. And I echo what you said there, Kim. Thank you so much for Spark AR for helping Dribble put this on, and to those absolutely incredible panelists at the very beginning of this workshop. That was such a cool conversation to hear such experts riff on. So thank you to everyone involved. And most importantly, thank you to our students today for being so engaged, asking those important questions, asking the challenging questions, and creating alongside us here. We obviously couldn't do these workshops without you, so thank you for coming. And like I said, thank you, Kim. Okay.
Thank
Good stuff. So I have sent you guys an email. You'd see it in your email box. It's from Facebook product events. So make sure you click onto it. It's got a link to a survey in there. And in that survey, you have your chance to submit your effects. It doesn't have to be the effect that you created today. It could be any effect, and you have a week to submit effects. But we're going to be picking 11 people at random who submit their links and giving them $100. Thank you to Spark AR for facilitating that. But, you know, really cool prize, and we'd love to see the effects that you create. So make sure you go to that email and give us your, just show us your Spark AR effects that you've created. You could do multiple entries, so I'm really excited to see what you've created there. Like I said at the beginning, make sure to share this on social media. Us at Dribble retweet everything, repost, reshare everything that we get. So I hope you've had an amazing time, and happy to share that on social media. We do have more Spark AR creator workshops coming up within the next couple of weeks. So we've got one on December the 6th and December the 8th. And these are going to be 2-hour workshops with expert community members in the Spark AR community. They're going to be doing demos and presentations. And like today, you create alongside them, ask them questions, and then enter a competition. It's all holiday theme. So the themes are going to be around Christmas. So make sure to come to them. They are free like today. So sign up. Renee's put the link in the chat. And I sent you guys the recording. I sent you guys the form to submit your links, and also the form for the survey. We love to hear your thoughts. We love to hear what we could do differently, or what sort of topics you want to hear next time. The community is everything for us. So thank you guys for coming, and thank you guys for publishing your effects and giving us your feedback. We'll see you at the next event in early December. Have a good day.